Hi, I'm Sean Rogers, Vice President of Research at Enterprise Management Associates, and I'm here today with my good friend from Gartner, Vice President of Research, Merv Adrian. Merv, glad to see you.
Good to see you, Sean.
It's a great event we're at here, NZ Universe 2011, over 1,000 folks attending, and big data is this theme, and today your conversation was about extreme information management. Why don't you tell everybody what that means to you?
Sure. Well, I began by telling people I'm not trying to rebrand it. Gartner isn't trying to own the label here. We know what big data is. Extreme information is a broader concept that includes big data and all the things associated with big data, which, by the way, we believe are volume, of course, but also velocity, variety, and complexity. And then there are another 8 dimensions to managing data that have to do with things like authorization and security and sharing. We have to think about all those things as we deal with these challenges, because if we don't, we solve one problem and create another one somewhere else. It's the law of unintended consequences, if you will.
Well, we end up being sort of firefighters if we don't attack the total width of all of the different things that we need to address.
That's exactly right. And, if you look across the history of computing, that tends to happen a great deal. We've watched client-server replace mainframe computing, but then everybody kind of figured out that we weren't managing it very effectively. Then we put it onto the web, and everybody suddenly understood that we created new security exposures, and so on. It goes on and on and on. When we start to work with one dimension, we often ignore the others, and that was one of the key themes of my talk.
One of the other themes that I picked up on is that extreme information management seems to be forcing or causing an awful lot of change across the enterprise. So how would you expand on that thought?
Well, what it comes down to, Sean, is that so many of the things that we are confronting today are external to the systems we've already built, the standards that we've created, the models that we build on, the best practices that we're comfortable with. Most of them are challenged by these new information sources, the new uses we're putting the information to, the new populations that we need to empower to use the information. All of those things are different, and if we don't react to those differences in a planful way, we will find ourselves fighting fires again, as you said.
Well, I agree with you. It's certainly causing change, and I think one of them, you took sort of a straw poll of the audience today, and I got kind of a good laugh. You mentioned that you've been asking for most of your career if the people in the audience have everything that they need in their enterprise data warehouse, and when you asked today, we didn't get too many hands, but what did that tell you?
Actually, the number was exactly 0, and it's been exactly 0 for the 3 decades I've been asking that question. The reality is that the all-encompassing enterprise data warehouse in the sky has been a goal and an aspiration for a very long time. After 30 years of understanding that that's not actually what happens, it's time that we built a model that embraces the notion that some of the processing is going to take place elsewhere. We're better to talk about it than here, where one of the most successful appliance vendors has demonstrated that some use cases are really well served by a purpose-built piece of hardware. Yeah, makes sense.
You also had a chance at the end today to talk a little bit about new technology, many of which I think are getting pretty popular right now, things like Hadoop and in-database analytics and a few others. I don't want to take everything that was on the slide, but what couple are your favorites and what do you think people ought to be thinking about?
Well, it's not really about what my favorites are. I learned a long time ago that my level of interest in something is not a very good predictor of what's going to be successful in the market. But the things that we're seeing the most, obviously Hadoop is on everybody's lips these days. One of the most interesting challenges for all of us, and I think especially for those like you and me who are working for research firms, is that many of the people implementing these new technologies are not the usual suspects we do our research with. They're often specialists off on the side who are solving a particular business problem, sometimes with and often without the help of IT. So these new technologies that spring up, the key really to discussing it in this speech was to say to people, you need to be aware of them, you need to track them. Don't jump on every bandwagon as it goes by. You're going to get very tired, and you're going to get very confused, and you're probably going to go down some wrong paths.
Merv, thanks a lot for spending time with us. I know that's always fun to do after you get off the stage. And
I was ready. Thank you. Good to see you.
We'll see you soon. This is Sean Rogers from Enterprise Management Associates. Thanks for joining us.